My name is Rhonda Woolhouse. I'm a librarian here with the San Antonio Public Library. Kimberly is also a librarian here and will be helping monitor the chat today. Before we get started, I just want to make a quick announcement. We are recording this program. If you do not wish to appear on the recording or if you don't wish to be heard, please make sure that your audio and visual are disabled. You can still interact through chat. The chat interactions will not appear on the recording. At the moment, we're expecting somewhere around 30 to 40 people. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Some we may answer as we're going along, and some we may answer at the end of the program. But we will try to get to everybody. And thank you all very much for joining us today. I'm very excited because I know nothing about this, and it's been a lot of fun trying to learn about it. And Alex Eaton, who's the other person you can see at the moment, has very kindly agreed to come and talk to us about cryptocurrency because he does know something about it, which is always good in a presenter. Alex is the co-founder of the San Antonio Crypto Network and the host of the Be Libre podcast. He's been dealing with cryptocurrency for years and is very good at explaining it. Because there is quite a bit of information to cover, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. On the chat box to the right, I basically said, if you have any questions, feel free to type them out as they come to you. I'll answer them as best I can in the moment. Otherwise, I'll answer them at the end. I'm going to go ahead and get started and share this and give you a little bit of background on me and why you should pay attention and listen in general, because I'm actually a big believer of getting second opinions when it comes to cryptocurrency. Don't just trust the first person who teaches you cryptocurrency. Do your own research, right? So who am I? Keeping it simple, because that's not why you came. I was an Army medic for 7 years. I got out in 2012. I heard about Bitcoin while I was going to business school, and I just fell in love immediately. So for the past 8 years, I kind of took it upon myself as a disabled veteran with the ability to do it, to teach cryptocurrency kind of full time. So yeah, 8 years of learning and going to conferences and just teaching people one-on-one and in groups and teaching, doing these kind of things too. So it's just a pleasure to teach, and there's no wrong question. Feel free to bring anything at me. The whole point of this is to learn what you don't understand. All right, so contents, going into it really quick. It's just a presentation. To understand cryptocurrency or digital currencies, I think you actually have to understand money a little bit. So we're gonna talk about what money is just for a second, I promise. And then what's the value? Why does it work? What is a blockchain? Why is it important? The value, if you've heard of Bitcoin mining, all of that is kind of what we're gonna go into. So kind of the overall, how does it work? There will be another class in a week or two that really will go in depth on how to use it. This is kind of an overview on what it is and still how to use it, but on a kind of more broad scale. So getting started, what is digital currency, right? Oh wait, I missed a slide. There we go. What makes good money? So the first things first, right? People say that there are 6 characteristics of money, and that is durability, portability, acceptability, supply, or the limited supply of it, divisibility, and uniformity. And so breaking it down, durability, I'm going to use the dollar for this example. You can put a dollar in a washing machine and it'll still come out okay. It's quite durable. And then we also use coins. Any fiat money, Canada, Asia, they all have durable currency. So check, right? Portability, can you bring it from point A to point B quite easily? Paper, coins, these things are easy to to move from point A to point B. Acceptability, of course, the dollar is accepted most everywhere. And depending on what country you live in, your fiat currency is more or less accepted other places. In the case of digital currency, we're talking about kind of a global currency. So that's a check, right? Limited supply. I used to put this in red because it's the one thing that I think that most fiat currencies of the 6 do not have anymore. We do know that everybody for the most part can agree that we continue to print dollars, as do most countries. And so a limited supply is kind of this joke I always ask, hey, how many dollars are there in the world? And it's a joke, nobody knows. And so that's kind of the problem, right? And then uniformity, simply put, you don't want your money to be counterfeited. You want everything to be the same. In the case of the dollar, the serial number is different, but everything is uniform to prevent that kind of thing from happening. So what is digital currency? Digital currency is just another form of money that kind of, in my opinion, has more than the 6 characteristics than originally, discussed. So in the case of limitedness, right, Bitcoin was coded and created to only have 21 million Bitcoins. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that is mined, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as of right now, there aren't actually 21 million. There are 8,745,000, and I update this every time I give the class. And right now, every 10 minutes, 6.25 Bitcoins are created. Now, this class isn't about Bitcoin, it's about digital currency. But to understand any digital currency, I think it's really easy to start with one, because it kind of does push on to all the others. They all have the same attributes, they're just different. So decentralized, this is the big one for me, what kind of made me go, wow, that's impressive. I've never seen that before. And that's simply just the meaning that it's not owned by a government, and it's not owned by a corporation, it's not owned by a government, it's literally owned by anybody who wants to purchase it. There isn't a central bank governing all of it, so to speak. Durable, yeah, Bitcoin is digital. It stays in your phone or your computer, or if you choose to put it on a piece of paper, so it's just as durable as cash. Divisible. We're going to get into that in 2 slides, and you can see how the dollar is $1.00 with 2 cents, right? Bitcoin can be broken up quite a bit more with 8 decimal places, and in some cases even more than that, up to 16. So it's quite divisible, even more than most fiat currencies. Fungible, Bitcoin is a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. They're all the same. One is one. No one Bitcoin is worth more than one other Bitcoin. So uniformity, equality, right? Immutability, this is a good one and a bad one. Basically, all I mean by this is if you were to use PayPal and you were to accidentally send money from your PayPal account to the wrong PayPal account, you could actually get with PayPal and say, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to send that money to that stranger. Can I have it back? And they'll say, sure, we'll get on that. It'll take a couple of days, but they can do it very easily. With Bitcoin, this class is actually about keeping yourself safe. And so it's very important to know that if you send any sort of digital currency to the wrong wallet or the wrong person, you now are reliant on the fact that whoever owns that wallet will send it back to you because you made a mistake and you didn't mean to send it to them. And so it can't be reversed by you or a central authority, because once again, it's decentralized and there is no PayPal to help you on the back end. So it's really as safe as you make it. Secure uses encryption, and that's going into the blockchain and the whole mining aspect of it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then a big one is it's upgradable. And I think fiat currency to some aspect is upgradable. A government can say, we're going to change our money, right? And that's an upgrade, right? In this case, digital currency is code, and every currency can be upgraded through something called a improvement protocol. Bitcoin would be a BIP, Dogecoin would be a DIC, right? Just a DIP, improvement protocol, right? And so just to show you that digital currency actually has these 6 attributes, but it actually has a little bit more. All right. So units of value. I'm just going to leave this up for a second and kind of let you eat on it. 1 Bitcoin at the top left is 100 million Satoshis, looking at the bottom right. So the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin in this case is called a Satoshi. That would be 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin, or 1/100,000,000th of a Bitcoin. And so I only show this because a lot of people feel like they have to buy a full Bitcoin, or they have to buy like at minimum like 0.01, as if you were, buying a cent. And you don't. You could actually buy 0.00001, or 10,000 Satoshis, which would be equal to, let's just say, like $3 right now, right? So if anybody says you have to buy a minimum, there is no minimum buy-in. You can buy $3 or $5 or $1 at any time, 24/7. And so then it goes into the question of what gives this value? It's been going on for 13 years now, and it's been one of the largest questions. Why is it more valuable than the dollar? Why did it go over $1? It used to be worth nothing, and now it's worth something. 10,000 Bitcoin would buy 2 pizzas 10 years ago, and now you can buy a car with 1. So really keeping it quite simple, because we'll dig into this going forward, but it is simply the blockchain. And the blockchain is, for lack of a better term, nothing more than a public ledger. So if you run a company, you have your finance guy, or if you're just doing your taxes yourself, you have your own financial ledger for yourself that says I made this much and this much went out, right? And so this is just a public ledger that anybody can access at any time just by going to something called a block explorer. So if you were to type in Bitcoin block explorer into a search bar, you will get to the block explorer. And this will give you the ability to search either a certain block and see all the transactions that ever occurred all the way back to the very first block in 2008. So in a lot of ways, there's a lot of aspects of this that is useful in governance, it's useful in finance, it's useful in logistics, it's useful in a lot of different ways, not just financial. And so Bitcoin did come out with this, digital gold, store of value, limitedness, but as the years have rolled on and more cryptocurrencies have come out, they've started having different abilities and doing different things. They have different types of blockchains and their blockchains are mined differently. And so once again, this isn't a Bitcoin class, but I'm gonna talk about Bitcoin's blockchain so that we can understand kind of all blockchains, and you'll learn a little bit about that from that. So the fact that it is limited, it's no joke that most, if not all fiat currency is printed at the will of the government when needed. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It does fix things sometimes, but it also causes inflation in our currency. And so on average, since 1971, the dollar has inflated by 4.1% every year. And really all that means is that 20 years ago, you could buy a 20-ounce soda for 75 cents, and now it costs you $2 or $3, depending on what gas station you're at. And so that's not because sugar and water went up in price, it's because the dollar constantly buys less. So more money for the same product. And with COVID-19 and everything happening, it's another thing where you start to see, Taco Bell just puts a little bit less meat into that dollar, menu item. So inflation is everywhere. The more you start to pay attention to it, the more you see it everywhere. And so a global currency that can be limited and be what we would call deflationary. A deflationary currency meaning there's only a certain amount. So as it is used more and more, it goes up in value. One last thing down at the bottom, accepted everywhere, credit and debit that's one thing, the biggest question, how can I use it? You can't spend Bitcoin here, you can't spend Bitcoin there, you can't spend, well, you can actually, and you have been able to for years. I have a slide about it, but there are debit cards that you don't have to load them like a debit card, but basically you connect them to one of your Bitcoin wallets, and then you can go to HEB, or you can go to GameStop, or you can, Walmart, you can go anywhere you can pay your mortgage with it. Anywhere where Visa is accepted, what happens is you basically put in your debit card information. The company will sell your Bitcoin or your cryptocurrency of choice. It'll turn that into cash and it'll give it to HEB. And so that's been going on for years. And so it's always been a little fun joke where people are like, but you can't spend it anywhere. And I'm like, but no, you really can. You got to do a little bit of work to get started. But once you get started, it makes it very, very simple. So value, right? Got to click this in. All right. So to get started, you honestly need, in my humble opinion, to know how to keep yourself safe. If you do not follow a very, very simple, specific set of rules, you're probably going to lose your money. Now, these are not hard rules. It's really actually just kind of one, but it actually has to do with wallets. So I'm going to go into the different types of wallets and then get into the one rule that I highly suggest everybody always does and why it's so important, and how it will basically take care of you. And if you follow this rule, you'll always have access to your funds and nobody can steal from you, because that's always the question, but can it be hacked, right? And so this is how you prevent yourself from ever having to worry about being hacked. So there's really just three types of wallets. And the first one is a hot wallet, just means that it's connected to the internet. That's it. A cold wallet just means it's not connected to the internet. So, a hot wallet would be a phone wallet, a computer wallet, and that's it. So basically connected to the internet. A cold wallet would be, there's certain types actually. You can have a piece of paper, that'll do it. That you can actually print a public key and a private key, which will be the next slide, or a hardware wallet. And a hardware wallet is actually what you see on the right, this little Trezor. There's also another one called a Ledger that I recommend. There are lots of different hardware wallets. They usually cost between $80 and $150. There are other ones that are even more expensive. I do not recommend those for somebody that's just getting started, because why are you gonna pay $80 to hold $5 or $50 for the crypto, right? Like, start simple, start with a free hot wallet. Side note, if you ever go onto your phone and try and download a hot wallet and it costs money, don't download it. All hot wallets are free. Paper wallets can actually cost money depending on what you're buying. And the last one is actually not a fourth type of wallet. It's just a ability that all these wallets other than a paper wallet can have, which is multi-sig. And that's just for, you know, honestly, I guess you could say big families, companies, corporations. You know, Tesla bought a bunch of Bitcoin a couple months ago. I can guarantee you they're using a multi-sig wallet, basically creating 2 out of 3 keys. So if, you know, you give the password to access the funds to 3 people, but you need 2 out of the 3 to access it, but you could also set it up to do, you know, 5 out of 7 or 10 out of 15, whatever you need. And so that's just a type of ability that all wallets should have. And so moving on, just 2 hot wallets right off the bat that I genuinely recommend. I'm not here to ever give investment advice or to push you to a certain product. That is not my agenda. It's just what I personally use and what I've tested for years. And I finally have gone like, okay, I feel comfortable saying these will work. And I don't feel like they're going to fall apart or die tomorrow, right? So Coinbase is a wallet that's on the computer. It allows you to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, trade it for other cryptocurrencies, and store it. The one thing about Coinbase is that the regular website Coinbase does not give you your private key. I will get into that in a second. I'll probably backtrack a little. Exodus is another one that was a computer wallet that recently became a phone wallet that lets you hold over 100 different digital currencies, and again, lets you trade cryptocurrencies within it, which is wonderful because one thing that I'm not going to talk about today is exchanges other than right now. You'll hear Bitcoin exchange, cryptocurrency exchange, you know, Binance, there's a few of them. I generally try and keep people away from those because exchanges are, they go away very quickly. And so if you ever do need to use an exchange, put your money in, trade, pull your money out and keep it back and get it back into your wallet where you have access. And so what does it mean to own your wallet? Because if you have your digital currency in an exchange, well, then they technically own your money because they have the private key and they're just giving you access through a website. And so what is a private key? This is the most important thing. This is the thing that I'm going to harp on a bunch and I'm going to talk about for more than 5 minutes on just this one slide. The private key is your key to the safe. It's the key to the kingdom. It's the key to your safety deposit box. And whoever has that key has full access to your funds forever, all the time. And so only you should have your private key. And so I'll make it quite simple. A paper wallet will basically give you a private key on the piece of paper right next to the public key. A hot wallet will, when you first download it, ask you to write down either a series of letters and numbers, or will give you a 12, 16, 20, or 24 word phrase. Usually it's 12, and it's just 12 random words. And this is your private key. And you write down these 12 words on a piece of paper. This is very important, on a piece of paper. And you put it somewhere safe, like a, you know, put it in a safe, put it somewhere where nobody has access to it. Because why this is so important is, let's say you download a hot wallet, you buy some crypto, it goes up a bunch, now you've got like $10,000 on your hot wallet, right? You upgrade your phone and you forgot that when you upgrade your phone, you transfer all your apps over, and it's going to transfer your wallet over, but it's going to ask you to put in your private key because you transferred phones. The same thing will happen if you lose your phone and you have to get a new one, or if you break your phone and you have to get a new one, or if somebody steals your phone and you have to get a new one. The private key allows you to re-download that wallet and then basically put in those 12 words and you have access to your funds again. Now, so why is this important? Not to take a picture of and not to put in your photos. Literally never take a picture of it, because anytime that you access an app, especially on Android phones, they're going to want access to your photos to play that game that you want to play. And even if you give one company access to your photos and you took a picture or a screenshot of that private key and are holding it in your phone for later, it does you no good if your phone breaks, and it definitely doesn't do you any good if somebody gets access to that photo, which I've seen happen way more than it should. So that private key, write it down on a piece of paper, don't ever take a picture of it, and put it in a safe. And so that's kind of the most important thing about all of this. Is the one thing that I do as a cryptocurrency like helper. People call me all the time. I have a problem. I need help with this. I want to do this. I want to learn this. I get more people that basically upgraded their phone and don't have their private key, and they lost $50,000. And there is nothing that anyone can do at all to help that. So that's why I harp on this so much. When you get that private key, take that 3 minutes to write it down, treat it as it is. It is a very important moment. Don't just screenshot it and just go with it and forget about it later, because you'll regret it. So But that's what a private key is. It's the keys to the kingdom, and every hot wallet will give it to you for the most part. Now, I say that because going back to Coinbase, Coinbase is a hot wallet that has two different types of wallet. If you were to Google it right now, you would go to Coinbase. Now, if you were to look it up on your phone, you'll see two Coinbases. You'll see Coinbase and Coinbase Wallet. Coinbase Wallet actually gives you your private key. It gives you that 12-word phrase, and whatever you put on it is yours. And nobody can ever take that from you unless they get your private key. Coinbase, the website, regular Coinbase, does not give you a private key. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. This isn't meant to be like, oh my God, I can't trust it, because that's not why they do it that way. I actually have my mom use Coinbase because she's terrible at keeping things and loses things all the time. Not a joke. She lost her private key about 3 times in 3 years. And finally I was like, we're just gonna keep your money on Coinbase. Because all they want is your username, a password, just like any bank would, right? So you log in like a bank. It's the same experience for the most part. And so when she loses her username and password for Coinbase, she can email Coinbase and say, hi, this is me, and they give her access again. So there are good things and there are bad things about both. Easy access, a little bit harder, a little bit more work, so it really is who you are and what you plan to do with your cryptocurrency. So knowing what a private key is the most important thing, because it has to do with all wallets. And if you're using cryptocurrency, you're going to be using a wallet. So the importance of the private key and backing up your wallet, here's just a few little blurbs that I probably talked about. No joke, I do recommend, if you're a long-term holder and you have some land, put it in a moisture-proof safe and put it in the backyard where no one will ever find it until you need it. I'm gonna go back just a little bit, because with private keys, that's the way you access your money. Public key is the opposite. It's for the public. And the best way to describe this is anytime that somebody wants to PayPal you, you give them your email address. If somebody wants to Cash App you, you give them your little cash with your name. If somebody wants to Apple Pay you or Facebook message it, they need to know that one piece of information. And in the case of cryptocurrency, that's called a public key. Genuinely in the past, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it was always the second one down, this series of letters and numbers, like an 18 U, V, W, K, X, Y, 99, and you had to type that in or copy paste to send to somebody. So for instance, if I wanted to have Rhonda pay me, I would give her my public key. She would put that into her Bitcoin or her address to send, and then she would send me whatever she wants to send me. Now it's gotten a little bit easier over time, because over here on the right, you have this QR code. Now, because private keys and public keys are by definition a series of letters and numbers, they can be QR coded. And so from hot wallet to hot wallet, phone to phone, it's become very easy for, especially if you're right next to each other, or just to send the QR code to a friend through an email, and then they can just scan it. But all you have to do is scan that QR code, just like you would scan a Cash App or a Snapchat or what have you, and it'll instantaneously put in that long series of a public key, and then you can send the money. A third thing that I found a couple years ago that I just preferably like, it's not something I'm pushing, it's a $2.99 a year service. It's called NetKey, that right there at the bottom, and it allows you to take your public key and turn it into whatever you want. So you really could make your public key your email address. So if somebody wanted to send you crypto, you could say, oh, just send it to my email address, and it would actually send your email address. But that's what a public key is. So every wallet is the same. They all have a public and a private key. Those are the two main things that all wallets share. And if you follow the simple rule of keeping that private key private, you will be fine. Nobody can take your money. I'm gonna go back one more and talk about cold wallets, because we did talk about hot wallets. Cold wallets a little bit more simple. It is literally just a piece of paper that is not connected to the internet, and it can be in the form of anything. People make art, and this is actually the screen behind it is, these are called crypto arts. And if you look at the bottom left of this art, you see a little QR code. So I've got a few of them around my house, and I'll scan it with my phone, and I will put cryptocurrency into the piece of art, and that is my wallet. And I actually have a private key that's on the back of the painting that I can take off and pull it out into another hot wallet when I want to take my money off a cold wallet. So yes, you need a hot wallet to take your money off a cold wallet, because how else are you going to get the money off the cold wallet? And I know I talked about it for half a second, but I also don't want to leave it left. A hardware wallet is nothing more than a hybrid of both. So a hardware wallet is a device that you plug into a computer, and when you plug it into the computer, it becomes hot. And when you plug it out of the computer, it's cold again. And so it's a nice little hybrid that allows you kind of the benefits of both, because all you have to do is connect to your computer and you have the usability and quick access of a hot wallet. And the moment you take it out, you have the safety and security and, you know, that side feeling of no, I'm not going to be hacked because my money's not online, right? Of course, the issue with a hardware wallet is not what you'd think it is. If somebody was to steal your device, guess what? That device still has a private key that you should have put in your safe. So no matter what wallet you get, it's always going to be the same. Just keep your private key private. All right, so that's wallets. I'm sorry, private key, private key, private key, private key, private key. Very important. All right, moving on. So now that you have your wallet, right? And there are so many wallets, and please don't just pick a wallet based on what I showed you here. There are hundreds of wallets. I would recommend probably about 20 or 30 of them. And I would recommend them based on the individual, because somebody might want to hold Dogecoin specifically because they heard Elon Musk likes it, right? And if that's the situation, well, you can't use Coinbase because Coinbase doesn't hold Dogecoin, right? So you got to find the right wallet for you. So I will throw out a website really quick. It's called CoinMarketCap.com. And this will show you basically everything you could ever want to know about every cryptocurrency that exists. It talks about the market cap, how many coins there are, the circulating supply, the total supply, gives you access to all the websites, the Twitter, the Facebook. If you want to get involved, gives you access to the code, the white paper, which is basically like the business plan of the coin, right? So no matter, and it also, for the point of what I'm trying to say, it gives you the wallet that you would need to hold said currency. So whatever coin you're looking at, go to CoinMarketCap.com and you'll be able to learn a little bit more and find those links to learn more. And once you know what cryptocurrency you want, you should probably start to find a place to buy it. And so there are tons of ways to buy cryptocurrency nowadays. I'll do them in the order that I kind of found them here. They're not in that order. Local Bitcoins has been around since basically the beginning. It was a very simple website where it brought person A who wants to sell some Bitcoin to person B who wants to buy some Bitcoin, because Coinbase didn't buy, there was no website to buy it at the time. There was no ATMs. There was, you know, just local Bitcoins for the most part. So my stupid story is I met a guy at IHOP at 10 p.m. to buy my first Bitcoin for like $300, right? I look back and I'm like, well, that sounds weird. I met a guy at IHOP at 10 p.m., but that's how it used to work. And that's why Coinbase came around and was like, okay, we're going to work with the United States and we're going to become 50 state legal and we're going to become FDIC insured so that, you know, we can sell Bitcoins legally in every state across the US. And so that's when you started having Coinbase and many others like Coinbase. I mean, there was, well, I'm not going to mention any names because most of those have gone away. It's been a wild west of business over the last 13 years. A lot of things do fail. So websites that allow you to buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin. And then after that, you started having things called BTMs, which is just another fancy way of calling it an ATM or a Bitcoin telling machine. And they have one way and two ways. And so one way, you basically put your cash in and you get Bitcoin onto your wallet on your phone. Or two way, same thing, but then you can actually send Bitcoin to the BTM and get cash out. And those have been around for years. And I believe San Antonio has at least 7 last time I checked. So the only thing I do not like about BTMs in general is that their fees are much higher. If you want to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, it's going to be 1.5 to 3.5%. You know, if you want to do it with a bank account versus a credit card, a BTM, the cheapest I've ever seen is like 7.9%. So if you're going to buy $100, you're losing 7.9% right off the bat. Local Bitcoins is still around, but that's off the individual. So the individual can set his price and he can say, I want 5% more or 10% more. So, and then you also have a lot of websites like Paxful, which are nothing more than, how do I want to call it? It's a very unique situation. These websites came out because not so much for America, where all you need is a bank account or a credit card to buy cryptocurrency. It was more for the unbanked. So Paxful allows people to go to any gas station or you know, a Walmart, an HEB, and buy a gift card. So you can actually buy like a $20 gift card for Chili's and go to Paxful.com, upload that gift card and get, let's say, $15 in cryptocurrency, which sounds bad to us because that's a 25% charge, right? But if you don't have access to banking and you're in a country where that's, you know, just unheard of, and how else are you going to get it? That's why things like Paxful were invented, to give people the opportunity to find other avenues to get into crypto for the first time. The last thing I'll say about this is I really also like Coinbase because it was one of the very first ones that let me do the set it and forget it with cost average buying, where you can say, I want to buy $50 on the 1st and the 20th of every month. You know, you set your own parameters, and for the last 6 years, I just buy and I don't have to worry about it. I'm just slowly getting crypto every month after month after month. And as long as I believe crypto does what it's supposed to do, then, because it's not about having 20, 30 Bitcoin. It's, there's only going to be 21 million and there's 7 billion people. So in the future, I don't think most people will have 1 Bitcoin, and that's okay, because even having 0.001 Bitcoin is quite a bit right now, right? So that's how you buy and sell. There we go. So next thing, altcoins. If you're in here and you have a particular coin that you really, really like, I'm sorry, I'm not in any way trying to push any coin. In fact, a lot of these coins I do not like. This is more an example of altcoins and some of the parameters and how they're special and what they do versus just good old first Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, store value, yay. But what if cryptocurrencies could do other things? What, one of my favorite ones that is never probably ever going to be worth anything, I highly don't recommend investing in it to make money. However, if you've, I'll keep it quick and fast. If you ever heard of something called folding at home, which was created by Stanford University, man, it's been like 17, 18 years now. And all it did back then was ask you if you'd like to donate some of your computer processing power to help fold proteins, which is the first of like 9 steps to, for lack of a better way of saying it, cure disease, right? You have to fold proteins to be able to really do anything in the science. And so our CPUs do that, our GPUs do that. And they created this fun little thing where it just ranked everybody versus everybody. And you could say, hey, I've folded 1 million proteins this year, right? And so all CureCoin was, and there was another one made after that called Folding Coin, and they just would take basically however much you folded and reward you for it in the form of a CureCoin, which, it's not gonna, like I say, it's not really meant to go up in value. It's meant to be a reward device for doing something that's helping humanity, right? And just a simple idea. And that was just one of the very first ones. And so we've seen things do much more than that lately. But yeah, I like to kind of go off the OGs, the guys that really started these ideas. Dashcoin is another one that just has a really weird, it used to be called Darkcoin. It was Bitcoin, but dark, meaning the blockchain was meant to be a lot more anonymous. You could actually shuffle your Darkcoin with other people's Darkcoins so that if the IRS ever wanted to come looking, they wouldn't be able to track the money. That's the idea of Darkcoin / Dashcoin. But in 2000, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I think it was 2015 or 16, they had to rebrand because ISIS started using Darkcoin, which in a weird way means that it actually worked. But yeah, they rebranded to Dashcoin, and still to this day, they are a real working coin with real working coders, and it's still going to this day. Litecoin, keeping it really simple, I call it the 4x4 of Bitcoin. Litecoin was actually the very second cryptocurrency. The creator, his name was Charlie Lee. He looked at Bitcoin and he said, wow, that's cool, but what if I just altered a few little things? What if instead of 21 million Bitcoin, there was 84 million Litecoin? And what if instead of 10-minute blocks when it comes to mining, I made it 2.5 or 2.5 minute blocks. So it's 4 times faster and it's 4 times as many coins. That was it. Those are the only 2 parameters that he changed. The thing about cryptocurrency over time, though, is it is upgradable. So Bitcoin and Litecoin have become even more different over time. Ethereum is another one that most people have probably heard because it's the second most expensive in market cap overall. Well, any given day, sometimes it goes to 3rd place, sometimes it goes back up to 2nd. And also it went from like $400 to $3,400 over the last couple months. But all Ethereum really was and still is the leader in smart contract blockchains. Hey Bella. So what is a smart contract? That's a whole other class. But to keep it really simple and under 3 minutes, a smart contract, I like to think of it like this, and this is not perfect. And please, I do recommend look up smart contracts. They're very interesting and they do a lot of things. If you've heard of NFTs, was only created because of smart contracts. And there's a lot of Ethereum clones nowadays. In fact, there's a lot of clones of a lot of coins because if you like to think, not everybody speaks English. Not every country uses the same coding languages. I mean, we all know all the different ones, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the high-tech Chinese people want to do the same thing as the high-tech American people, as the high-tech this people. So everybody has different languages that they like. And so you have clones that are basically almost very similar. They just have different ways of coding it, right? But Ethereum smart contracts. If I was to start, I've done this one before. If I was going to play a game with Rhonda, right? And I was going to say, Rhonda, we're going to play a game, and the first one to get 3 points is going to get $5. You put in your $5, I'll put in my $5, right? But we wanted to do it with a contract, right? Because it's weird, right? Bad example as far as needing a contract, but we would use a contract and we would write it down. Now, to actually enact a contract, you need a lawyer. You need, you need the what is it called? The signature and all that stuff. And so a smart contract just allows you to set the parameters ahead of time. So we could actually create a smart contract that says, we're going to deposit our $5 each. We're going to play this game. We're going to link it to the game so that the moment that those 3 points on that game are happening, we don't have to do anything. That $10 would immediately go into the winner's wallet, right? And that's the most simple, basic form of a smart contract. The reason that there's so many coins and tokens nowadays is because of Ethereum, because Ethereum allows you to create anything. And so you can create your own coin on Ethereum. And so you have all these coins that run on Ethereum. And that's why Ethereum's gained so much value, because every single time you transact one of these altcoins that runs on Ethereum, you have to use Ethereum to transact it. It's very much similar to if you ever want to send Bitcoin from one point to the other, you have to spend a tiny amount of Bitcoin to get it there, because there's always a transfer fee, right, for everything. So Ethereum costs Ethereum to send, but it also costs Ethereum to send hundreds of other cryptocurrencies that have been built on Ethereum. I'm almost done with this. I'm just, again, not trying to highlight anything, just trying to talk about the different ways that coins are used. BRD token, I used to work for a wallet called BRD. It was called Bread Wallet. It's a good wallet. I still recommend it to this day. They created a cryptocurrency called BRD token. Again, not pushing this. I sold all mine. But it was the simple idea that, hey, if just like in a bank, if you hold a certain amount of funds in your bank, they're going to give you a couple little extra rewards that they might not give to somebody that's holding $15 in the bank, right? And so if you were to hold 500 BRD tokens, you might get 50% off all trades within the app. If you were to hold 20,000 BRD tokens, you would be able to do your Bitcoin taxes through a partner of BRD without having to spend any money. So they had different tier levels of rewards based on how many tokens you had. This coin goes up and down all the time as well. So you could buy the coin really low and have all the rewards and then sell it really high and get out and never use the wallet again. That's actually kind of what I did. But there's tons of wallets now. And so you actually have a lot of different coins for a lot of different wallets that are all trying to do their own reward platform within their wallet. Another big one lately is ENJ for Engine Wallet. Now, another one that is really important, but most people don't get excited about it all, but there is a reason that it's special, are stable coins. Keeping it really simple, a stable coin is just meant to be stable. So a couple examples, they all sound like the dollar, like USD coin or dollar coin or cash coin, and they're all set at $1. Now, sometimes they go down to 99 cents and sometimes they go up to $1.01, but they're backed by, most of them are backed by, supposed to be backed by real world assets and real world fiat. And that's how they keep their stability. And so why are they important for anybody? Well, if you had, well, let's use the last 2 months as an example. If you had bought a Bitcoin at any price, and it went up to $65,000 within it went up 30K in a month. Most people would go, that's probably going to come down pretty fast, pretty hard in a little bit, right? And so if you were to take that $65,000 Bitcoin and turn it into 65,000 stable coins that are worth $1, this is important for basically when Bitcoin goes down, and like now today it's $29,000, right? But you still have 65,000 stable coins, right? And you can move those stable coins back in any cryptocurrency you want at any time, 24/7. So right here, right now, if I had done that, I could take those 65,000 and I could buy, 2 point some odd Bitcoin right now for the 1 Bitcoin that I turned into the stable coins a month ago. And so it's a really good way to move your money into something that will hold its value without having to basically cash out and take that capital gains tax, which, yes, we're going to talk about taxes for a second too, but there's a slide for that. And Dogecoin, because it's been in the news a lot lately, this is also not one that I own. I did own it many years ago. It was supposed to be a joke. In a weird way, it is still a joke, but it's become this really weird joke because now everybody that follows Elon Musk is buying it. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad investment. I'm just, one thing that we're going to talk about in just a second is kind of like the token economics, how many tokens there are. Is it a limited token? How many tokens are created every amount of time? In the case of Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, they create tokens, right? So Dogecoin, same thing. Every certain allotted amount of time, it creates more coins. And in the case of Dogecoin, there is no cap. They will always be making more. And so my whole thing is, I don't want to get invested to put a lot of money into another limited currency. If I wanted to hold a limited currency, I'd hold the dollar. I'm sorry, a unlimited currency like Doge, I'd hold the dollar. So once again, none of these are investment advices at all, but they are just unique examples. So we did talk a bit about the blockchain and the ledger. I'm going to leave this up for half a second before I go to the next slide. But for anybody that did join a little late, it is, again, nothing more than a public ledger on the internet. Sorry about my dog. So anybody can go and check out any block. So if I sent a transaction of anything right here, right now, regardless of whether it's Dogecoin, I could go to a Dogecoin block explorer and I could see my transaction immediately, or I could go 5 years later and look back and see that transaction. And so why is this really neat? Well, because if a government was to use this, keeping it really simple, how cool would it be? I mean, just my perception, if I, pay $5,000 or $10,000 in taxes for the year, right? I'd really like to see where that goes. I think it'd be really fun to be able to look up that block where I sent my money to the government and then see where the government sent my money and go, wow, it went to the roads, it went to the schools. How cool is that, right? But at the same time, I'd like to be able to go, oh, it all went to the Army. I'm ex-Army, so I think we should spend that. That's not the point. That's the point. But it would be neat to see where your money goes. And so using a public blockchain, being able to, would you please? Being able to access that all the time and see where all the money is really, really special. We call it pseudo-anonymous because the simple fact is the wallet is nothing more than your public key. And your public key is not necessarily have your name on it, right? You can have as many wallets as you want. You could download 30 wallets in the next 20 minutes on your phone, and none of those are going to be attached to you on the blockchain. They're just going to have a public address. So pseudo-anonymous, because you can see the transactions, but you don't necessarily know who the person was that sent it unless you know who owns that public key. So if I send you a transaction, you could actually look up my public key and you could see my money. And so this is another reason why I say if you do have a large sum of cryptocurrency, keep several wallets. Keep your $1 million in that one over there that nobody knows the public key to, because you don't want people knowing how much money you have, most likely, right? And the money and the wallet that you use for transactions, keep a normal sum in it. So if anybody was to look it up, they'd go, okay, I'm not going to rob his house, right? And I don't mean that jokingly. It's kind of sad, but a lot of people have been killed in this space over the last couple of years because they flaunt their money and it just makes them a target. So again, this whole thing is as safe as you make it. Okay, so really quickly, this is kind of how from A to Z, this is how it goes, right? So I would say, Rhonda, give me your public key. I need to send you some money. She would either show me your QR code right in front of me, or she would send me her public key. I would put it into my wallet. I would hit send after determining how much I want to send. This is where the Bitcoin mining comes in, which is a slide just right after this one. So Bitcoin mining happens, and in the case of, I'm going to use Bitcoin as the example. All cryptocurrencies are different, right? Bitcoin's blockchain is every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, a block is created. So for this, like right here, right now, at this moment, there are transactions in real life going into this block. And let's say this block has been live for 7 minutes. Well, there's 3 minutes left, right? And so all the transactions are going to go into it. And the other thing to know about Bitcoin blocks are they are 2 megabytes in size. And so if you think about a transaction, how big is a transaction? Well, it turns out it's a couple kilobytes, right? Maybe depending on how much you're sending, it actually goes up. If it's a tiny amount, it's less. So on average, 2 megabytes will allow 700 transactions a second, give or take 200 plus or minus. So 10 minutes, 2 megabytes, 700 transactions, right? And so what happens if there's 3,000 transactions in that 10-minute time period? Well, then they would get pushed to the next block and they would go in that order. The interesting thing about this is you can choose how much you want to spend for your transaction. You can actually increase how much your transaction would cost. Why would you ever want to do that? Well, if the network is flooded at any current moment and there are a lot of transactions and it might take an hour because you're backed up 50 minutes, if you spend more, you can actually move in front of everyone that spent less. Now I'm getting into the kind of the nitty gritty instead of going over this, but there's a lot to it. And so basically, number 3, then the network. So what this means is all the Bitcoin miners in the case of Bitcoin, or if you're using another cryptocurrency, all the Litecoin miners, or all the, EO, all the things, right? So all the miners are validating the transaction by looking at the blockchain and all saying that, yes, okay, Alex had X amount of money, so he's able to send Y to Rhonda. This makes sense. The blockchain is good, right? And so once it's validated, it gets immortalized, as I like to call it, in number 4, and it gets put up into the blockchain. And once it's in the blockchain, anybody can go to the block explorer and they can access that block and see all the transactions in it. So they're chained together. There's a little visual for you, and then the transaction is complete. And that's really as simple as it is. It's a very quick little precise thing. There's a lot going on in the background, but for the actual transaction, quite simple. So I kind of talked a little bit about this over on the right, but mining is kind of my favorite thing in the world. I heard about Bitcoin when it was $800 and it crashed to 200 over the 2 months that I was learning about it to begin with. And I went ahead and I started mining it instead of buying it. And so I didn't really care that it was crashing because I was just slowly acquiring those Satoshis, right? Making a little bit every second of every day, or I guess you could say a little bit every 10 minutes of every day. In the past, between 2008 and 2012, you could use basically any computer because it was called CPU mining, which is the CPU is every computer has a CPU, right? And the better your CPU, the more you would make. And then they figured out how to use GPUs. And so all of a sudden CPUs made a lot less because now they were competing against the GPUs. And what it really breaks down to is something called hash power. And every video card has a hashing rate that it will mine at. And so that's why if you're a gamer, you can't get a new NVIDIA 30 series video card right now because all the miners are buying them as soon as they can, because a $350 video card will make you $3 a day. And so with that math, you're gonna buy something that will make its money back in 100 some odd days, and then it's gonna still make you money the day after. And so if you could get 100 of these, then within 100 days, you'd have 100 things making you $3 a day. And that would be pretty amazing. And so that's where, that's where this whole arms race of video cards has come into play. Now, some coins moved even past video cards and started using something called ASICs, which is ACIS, the Advanced Specific Integrated Circuit. Basically, it's just a computer that has been created to do nothing more than one thing. There are many types of ASICs in this world. In this case, I'm talking about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency mining ASICs. And so they are nothing more than just a couple boards with a fan and a little thing that connects to the internet. And they can mine, well, at first they could mine 2-3 times as fast as a GPU. Now they can mine insanely. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of rates faster. So if you're trying to mine Bitcoin, a CPU might make you a penny a day. A good GPU might make you 5 to 10 cents a day. And I mean like a good GPU, like a $1,000 one will still only make you nothing. And so most people do not, I would say all people do not mine the big guys like Bitcoin and Litecoin or anything that's mined with ASICs anymore, because they can mine other things like Ethereum or Zill or, I mean, honestly, Doge. You can mine Doge. And so the thing about Doge is actually you can mine it with an ASIC. So even if you try with your computer, you're not going to make much. But you mine these other coins. And so if I can mine $3 worth of Ethereum a day, I can actually choose to instead turn it into Bitcoin at the end of the day or Litecoin or whatever I want. And so even though I'm making the $3 in Ethereum, it's instantaneously becoming the crypto of my choice and goes into the wallet of my choice. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining still to this day is a lot of fun, especially if you have a bunch of computers laying around or happen to be a gamer or you know, or just want to try, because it's actually a lot of fun to boot up a computer from 5 years ago and realize that it's going to make you, you know, 75 cents a day just sitting there. And that's pretty cool, especially if it's a laptop, which uses a lot less power, because let's be honest, if you've got 6 or 7 computer desktops in your house mining all day, it's going to increase your power out, you know, consumption, which is going to increase your bill. So that's something to, of course, be wary about. But cryptocurrency mining as a whole has these attributes. It is how fast do the blocks come, right? In the case of Bitcoin, 10 minutes. In the case of Litecoin, 2.5 minutes. Everything is different. Ethereum, I believe, is like 22 seconds. Everything has its own unique timing on how many blocks per time. The block size is different. In fact, quick history lesson, there's something called forking. A fork is when you take a coin and you say, I really like that code, but I'm going to change it just a little bit. In this case, in 2017, there was a new cryptocurrency called Bitcoin Cash. And Bitcoin Cash is a fork of Bitcoin. What's really neat about this is you get to look at it kind of like a stock split as well, because for every 1 Bitcoin you had at that time, you got 1 Bitcoin Cash as well. And Bitcoin Cash is, you know, worth, I think, $400 right now. So, you know, it's just a stock split. Hey, 1 for 1, right? If you have one, you get one. It has the exact same attributes, except for one thing. At least when it was first created, it's you know, upgraded. They both upgraded differently. So Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin are different. They were always different. But the one thing they wanted to do was they wanted the block size to be 8 megabytes instead of 2, because at the time, 2017, Bitcoin's blocks were really congested. There was tens of thousands of transactions coming into every 10 minutes. It would cost $30 to send $3 because the block couldn't handle the load, right? And so they were like, oh, this is easy. Let's just increase the size and that'll work, right? Why is this bad? Why is this good? It's good because it lowered the cost of transaction, and still to this day, you can send Bitcoin Cash from point A to point B for a penny because of that block size is so high and it can hold that many transactions. It still can't hold close to anything as a regular bank or PayPal, which can do hundreds of thousands of transactions. Visa is, I think, at the leader with like almost 1 million transactions a second is what they can handle. So that's where cryptocurrency does become upgradable. You can change that block size anytime you want. But one of the reasons you wouldn't want to so fast is because going back to Bitcoin mining in general, every block is 2 megabytes. And so people will download these blockchains onto their computer, and that's where that validation comes in, right? The miners check with all the different blockchains on everybody's computer around the world to make sure that they all say the same thing. And the bigger a blockchain gets as far as size means less blockchains around the world. So if you have a blockchain that's 32 gigs, almost every computer can hold 32 gigs. But as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, 2 megabytes, 2 megabytes, 2 megabytes every 10 minutes, times days, times months, times years, well, then all of a sudden you're at 500 gigs. And most people aren't going to take 500 gigs just to store something, right? And then just 5 years later, now you're talking terabytes, right? And so you want to keep the megabytes low until you absolutely need to raise them. Otherwise, it'll cause an issue where in the future, the blockchain is just too big. There's not enough verifiers. But again, sometimes I get into the nitty gritty. Moving on, I do like to talk about block reward because that's how much money you make based on what you're doing. There are great mining calculators where you can actually put in the block reward and the difficulty of the blockchain that you're mining, and it'll tell you basically how much your thing will make. Just a second. So in this case with Bitcoin, it started in 2008 and you had 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. There's something called the halvening, where every 4 years, Bitcoin's reward halves. So in 2012, it went down to 25. In 2016, it went down to 12.5. Right now, we're at 6.25, and it'll go down to 3.175, so in 2024. And it'll keep doing that. That's just Bitcoin. Not all do that. In fact, most don't have a halvening. Most have their own unique structure, and that's why I always say go to CoinMarketCap and learn how it works and how their blockchain's set up. The difficulty is a joke. It's not actually 19,000,000. The difficulty affects your reward quite a bit, but what does it really mean? When there was 2 miners on the network, 2 people in the whole world mining, basically imagine the difficulty was 2. Now it doesn't actually scale like that, where if there was 4 miners, the difficulty is 4, but the difficulty of the blockchain varies based on how many miners are currently active. And so you'll see it go up and down based on how many people are actively mining day to day. When it goes up, your profitability goes down. The best way to say this is if the difficulty was 10 and you were making $20 a day and the difficulty went to 20, you would make half that, right? You would make $10 a day. So every time the difficulty doubles, you're making half. If the difficulty goes up 5% in 2 weeks, you're going to make 5% less than you did 2 weeks prior. So that's actually an important thing to note. It's actually one of the reasons why a lot of miners have been making a little bit more money lately, because China has been cracking down on Bitcoin mining. So there have been less miners, so the difficulty has gone down. So everybody that is still mining is making more than they were a couple weeks ago. One last thing, and I'm going to touch on this proof of work, proof of stake, proof of other, proof of, that's how it is mined. In the case of Bitcoin, proof of work is a computer solving a mathematical algorithm using energy. Proof of work, it is working. That's the basic way to understand it, right? It is true that Bitcoin mining does use the same, if not more power than a small country. These are not outlandish claims. These are real claims, and it's really true. I probably spend an extra $150 a month on my electricity bill because I'm mining. And so that is something where proof of stake and other ideas of how to mine cryptocurrencies have really started to come. And that's why, again, upgradable Bitcoin could one day change how it's mined, right? What is proof of stake though? Basic way to say it, proof of stake is interest. If you were to put $100 in a bank account that gives you 1% over the course of the year, you're proof of staking $100 at 1%. That's just the best way to say it. So a proof of stake is another way of mining cryptocurrency. It was invented with the idea of peer coin. That's P-E-E-R was the very first one that did it. And basically for every coin you held in your wallet, you would earn 1% interest over the course of a year if you held it for the full year. A lot of coins over time have started to use this because one, it doesn't require all the energy that proof of work does. And at the same time, all you have to do is hold your cryptocurrency in a wallet that allows for proof of stake. This is also very important. Not all wallets will allow you to stake your proof of stake coins. So if you have a proof of stake coin, make sure you're using a wallet that's actually staking it for you or gives you the option to stake it. Certain coins will give you 12% interest or 5% interest. A lot of them are APY, which is variable. So 1 month you might be making 8%, the next month you might make 15%, and the next month you might make 2%. So the cool thing about this is it is all day, every day. You can usually take it out whenever you want. Some coins have a unique structure where you have to like wait 2 weeks to unstake your coins. Others don't care and it's immediate. So just make sure you read up on what you're trying to do before you do it. Because if you want to sell it and you actually have to wait a week to wait for that unstaking time, because that's just the coin that you're dealing with, you'd want to know ahead of time, right? And so that's kind of how we see these digital currencies evolving over time, seeing what the one before did and doing something better or wiser or easier or just making the whole process better overall. So one other thing, Bitcoin mining specifically is not capital gain taxed. If you buy cryptocurrency and sell cryptocurrency, you're going to pay capital gains taxes. If you mine cryptocurrency, you're actually, it's same as a business. So you would basically just pay income tax on it, which is less, which is nice. Payment processors, just for a quick second, I talked about how there are debit cards where you can actually just swipe and you don't really need payment processors. But if you are a business and you want to accept digital currencies and actually do it in a way where it's not the customer having to use one of those cards, there are plenty of processors like Coinbase and BitPay that'll basically give you, all the tools that you need. There's POS systems nowadays and all kinds of things to help any business that really wants to accept cryptocurrency accept. However, at the same time, you technically don't need any of that. You could take your QR code from your wallet on your phone and take a picture of it and print it out and literally just put, like if you owned a gas station, right, you just put it there on it and say, I accept this. There's a liquor store down the street that accepts 6 different cryptocurrencies and he's got 6 different QR codes. And, I'm like, I can buy this with CoreCoin. I don't even know what CoreCoin is, but cool, he accepts it. And so you don't have to do these big guys if you don't want to. It really is for the every person. You don't need anybody to help you accept or use Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And then down there at the bottom, just a reminder again, there are debit cards that allow you to buy your groceries at H-E-B with your digital currency. All right, so taxes. I don't have to spend a lot of time on this. It's actually pretty simple. It's not an exact science. Okay, it is an exact science. I just don't get taxes. It's based on your tax bracket, right? So the one thing to know is it is taxed. Every time you buy and sell, that's a taxable event. Anytime you trade a cryptocurrency for another, that is a taxable event. I highly recommend using a CPA for the first time if it's your first year, just to make sure that they help you with that. There are great websites that can take your CVT data from your wallet and actually tell you how much you owe. Cryptocurrency tax websites, they're not very expensive, and they really do help you take care of this on the back end so the IRS doesn't get on you. But long-term, short-term, keeping it really simple. If you were to buy Bitcoin at $100 and sell it for $1,000, you made $900. If you sold it within a year, with like 200 days in, you're going to pay a short-term capital gains, which again, depending on your tax bracket, is going to be between 10 and right around 40%. Long-term is 365 days. If you bought it for 100, sold it for 1,000, and it's been over a year, then you're going to pay long-term capital gains, which if you actually don't make much money, can be zero, which is great. For most people, it's going to be 15%. And then for people in the higher tax bracket, it's going to be 20%. And so that's really all there really is to know. I'll use me as an example. I didn't know at the time back in 2016, 2017, that you had to pay taxes on cryptocurrency. It took them 3 years, but they came back and they were like, hey, this is how much you owe. So can you get away with it? Yeah, for a while, but don't, because they'll get you, right? And it's just that simple. Just trying to save you heartache in the end. Yeah, I'm not going to teach that. There are ways to do it, but yeah, just don't put yourself in that place. So this is a slide that I always decide to move around depending on what. This kind of goes over, it's like an overview again. So why use it over another one, right? Why would I ever use cryptocurrency when I have dollars in my pocket? Well, a lot of the times you're not going to need to. In fact, a lot of the times I recommend it as a just store of value. I don't think you should be spending your cryptocurrency, especially not in America. If you were to live in a country where they consider it not an asset and they consider it a currency, which there are certain countries that consider it a currency, of course, use it because you're not incurring a tax of 15 to 40% every time you spend it. So that's something to be very aware about. But you can send remittances and invoices nowadays. Let's see. Yeah, it's been about 13 years. The Bitcoin has held up its integrity and it's held up all the altcoins' integrity. At the same time, this ecosystem is so good at weeding out bad things. For instance, there have been a lot of scam coins and vaporware coins and Bitcoin cloud mining scams. Oh, all the Bitcoin cloud mining scams where they're like, hey, you don't need mining hardware, just pay $50 and you can get this many mega hashes and you'll earn $5 a day, right? And then that lasts for 2 months and then it's gone. So all I'm really trying to say is do your research on any website you use. If you saw it on this, Coinbase, Exodus, these are normal wallets, but exchanges and anything that seems too good to be true in this space probably is. There are so many scammers in this space, so just really do your research and be careful. It's the best way to kind of say it, because it still is very much a wild west out there. It's still an experiment. It's all right there. So yeah, I hope this presentation is kind of opened your eyes to everything. I'm the type of person that really hopes that people have questions. I am looking at my slides and not looking at the chat box, so there's probably some chat box stuff. But at this point, I really wanted to just open it up and kind of raise your hand if you have any questions, and feel free to try and stump me. I love it. That's it. That's the class. There will be another class, I believe Rhonda can say a week or two from now that'll actually go into doing all of this. So we're going to do a class on downloading your first wallet. We're going to send, we're going to do a transaction. We're going to back up our wallets. And we're going to kind of go into some of the other things where you can actually just find free money using what you do on a daily basis, because there are a lot of applications and lots of ways to actually earn cryptocurrency without doing anything that you wouldn't normally already do.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That was awesome. I feel like I actually know a little bit more now, so thank you very much for that. We will be doing that other class you were talking about is August 3rd. And again, you do have to sign up for it. So Some of you already have. If not, feel free to go to the library's events calendar and register for it. One question we did have, Alex, a lot of people were wondering if they could get hold of this presentation. I think you said you have like a primer or a book that you made.
Yeah, I wrote like a little 40-page book that I give out to people because I'm like, it's this, but more detailed. And like, you can kind of read it on your own. It takes like 45 minutes to read, probably 30 minutes. It's a booklet. It's a booklet. And yeah, I'd be happy to share that with anybody. Here, really quick. Oops, let me present again because I'm just going to go back to the beginning. So you can all get my email address. There you go. Phone number and email address on the right. If you would like it, just email me or send me a text. Very available. And yeah, more. I saw there was a few more questions. The top down. And yes, I can. If you're recording this, and you're more than welcome to share this. I can also just send these slides if you want. But yeah, just hit me up, and I'd be happy to share it.
And I've put my email address in the comments as well. If you have any other questions, you can get hold of me and I can contact Alex for you.
I'm actually going to go through these really quick because I like this. All right, so somebody said newer 30 series cards have Ethereum mining limiters. Yes, they do. And then within about 3 days, they figured out how to stop that. Now, I say it's not the easiest thing in the world. You actually have to connect it to a monitor. There's a few like little steps, but honestly, it just takes about an hour and you could actually break that limitation. Because yes, the 3060s should do about 50 to 60 mega hashes. And right now they're limited to like 30. On the side note though, NVIDIA is actually creating its own final, like real, here's a GPU that's not supposed to do anything except mine cryptocurrency. I don't know when they're coming out. I don't know how fast they'll be. And I certainly don't know how expensive they'll be. And more than that, I know I won't be able to get access to one because bots aren't nice. I'm trying not to, bots. Anyway, at the same time though, the 3070, 3080, 3090, yeah, you can break that limiter and still make pretty good mega hashes. I also say one other thing. You know what they don't limit on the 30 series? It kind of limits itself, but it's a lot cheaper right now is I found that you can actually still buy 30 series laptops through Best Buy. I've bought three 3060 laptops and two 3070 laptops through Best Buy for $900 and $1,100 for the 3070. Now, those, because they're laptop video cards, don't make what they would make anyway. So for instance, the 3060 is doing 30 and the 3070 is doing 35 to 38. But the price was very affordable and I was able to get it, a couple months ago back when it all happened. So it's all about return on return on investment, right? If I can get that money back for the laptop that I just bought. And I think that's the funniest thing of all is if you can, go to Best Buy, I hate to say it, but if you can go to Best Buy, use a Best Buy credit card and get 0 interest for 12 months and pay $80 a month for a laptop that's making you $100 a month, can I buy 100 of them? Of course, it's not that simple. There is a gamble to it. Just because you're mining $1 today doesn't mean you're not going to be mining 80 cents tomorrow. So please don't take this as advice. I did that. All right. And yeah, you talked about the miners. Yes. Selling Bitcoin. What does that mean? In the convenience store. Yeah. So most convenience stores, especially like since we're here in San Antonio, I've noticed I had no idea, but I travel up and down 35 quite a bit lately. And I stop at the gas stations and it seems like almost every gas station up and down 35 from here to Austin has a Bitcoin ATM. I have found that most of them are one-way, meaning you put your cash in, get the Bitcoin out. But some of them are two-way. And so if there is a convenience store that says selling Bitcoin, he's probably either he has a Bitcoin telling machine in his store, or maybe he's on local Bitcoins, as I talked about earlier, where he's actually just an individual that he has cryptocurrency and he's willing to sell if you're interested in buying. Of course, with that, he can set his own price. And if he's like, I'm going to charge you 20% over the spot value of it, that's his prerogative. But that's probably not going to happen, but just he can do that. That's kind of the other kind of cool thing about this. But what drives crypto values up and down? Everything. Manipulation. Elon Musk. Banks. People like me that buy a little bit every day, but times a million. What actually increases and decreases the value any given day? I think for the most part, I hate to say it, but it's the demands of the ecosystem at the moment. I think you can actually see a lot of trends on the price. You know, we see these hills and valleys every 3 years, right? Like right now, I can easily say if you just go off the history, we're going to kind of be in this nice little, I like to call it the time where it's just time to accrue, get as many as I can because the price is low. And generally, yeah, we go into these nice little low times. And I see the price of cryptocurrency rise when bad things happen. I think that's one of the reasons that it definitely rose over the last couple of months was people knew that the year had passed, tax time's coming, inflation is imminent. I know I just saw the article like 2 days ago that we had the highest interest raise in like 13 years or something. Instead of being 4.1, it was 5.4, which is, that's a lot. So your dollar just bought 5.4% less than it did the year before. And when that happens, people get fearful. People buy gold, people buy silver, people buy stocks, people buy whatever they think is going to have value in the future. And I think, especially once you start, if you do, highly recommend it. The more you go to cryptocurrency conventions, the more you start to meet like dozens of people that have this mentality, this attitude towards this idea. Then you start to meet hundreds and you kind of see that most of them all have the same idea. And it's a really simple idea. I know I'm part of it too, where I know I have money in my bank account. I know that I have a little physical gold. I know I have a little silver. You know, I've got a few stocks. I've got some, I've even got some Chinese yuan. I've got, you know, probably $1,000 in pesos, right? And it sounds like a joke, but it's not. It's about hedging your bet. It's about, you know, having access to what you might need in the future. And I think anybody that's gonna sell their 401k and put it all in crypto, you're not investing, you're gambling, right? And I'm a huge lover of crypto, but I also believe, like I teach people to do the slow growth, right? Like set it and forget it. Buy $50 a month, buy $1,000 a month, buy whatever you can afford, but don't go over because it is a very volatile currency. All of it is. And when Bitcoin goes up or down, so do the rest of them. There really isn't anything that stays stable except for stable coins. So like I said earlier, when you start to think things are going to go down, like if you've got $30,000 in crypto right now and you think that Bitcoin might go down to 20 and you think Ethereum might go down to 1,000, it might be a good idea to move it into something or to cash out, right? And I mean, anybody that's ridden these waves, like the smart investor would buy it low, sell it high, wait a year for it to crash again and buy it back and do it again, you know, every 2 years. It is an investment. It is however you want to play it. I'm the weirdo who doesn't sell ever. I've sold like 3 times on different, like when it went to 5,000, I bought a $5,000 motorcycle. When it went to 10,000, I paid off my car, right? Like, but other than that, like just those moments of glee where, you know, it took a couple years to get there. But no, I'm just a big believer of hold it for your retirement. You know, hold it for your kids. And so let's see what else we've got. Yeah, like hit keys war. Thank you for answering that. But yeah, no, that was it. So if you want, you can unmute yourself. If anybody has any questions, please don't be shy.
I had one question just because you had mentioned it once before when we were talking that, and I think you said it did actually affect at the time somewhat, but you were saying that like the Coinbase is federally insured.
Oh yeah, FDIC insured. Yeah, it's one of the things, like over the course of the last couple of years, Coinbase wasn't 50 state legal all at once. You know, they had to go through a lot of hoops and valleys and do a bunch of legal work. Brian Armstrong, their CEO, has been very busy, very busy for many years. But yeah, so if for some reason Coinbase was to go down, you know, FDIC insured basically just stands for the fact that the government will back up the funds that are lost. It's never happened before, but it actually is kind of nice to know that there is at least one cryptocurrency wallet that you can hold your coins in, or in this case, you know, I hold a little bit in Coinbase. I hold a lot in Coinbase Wallet. Again, Coinbase Wallet, you have your private key. Coinbase, you don't. However, my mom does keep 100% of hers in Coinbase, once again, because she can't be trusted with her private key. On that note, I actually do want to say one more thing. It actually has to do with the transfer of funds, death tax, all that stuff. My grandpa invested in cryptocurrency a couple of years ago, and he died back in December. And it's taken 6 months and a lot of hard work to do it the right way as far as legally moving his crypto to who it was supposed to go to, which is my mom and his sons, right? Now, I do get customers sometimes that are in their 80s and they have, you know, a lot of money in crypto, and they're like, what do I do? How do I give this to my daughter, right? And there's a lot of ways to do that. There are a few companies that will help you do that. I was going to go over that in the next class. But also it just kind of stems down to the fact of trusting somebody, right? So if you do have a lawyer, you know, you can give them maybe the private key to give your daughter, or, you know, create a smart contract on Ethereum so that he only gets access to it when you die, right? Or just, you know, putting it in your will to make sure that the person who you want to gets the private key, because it happens way too often, even to young people, where they get in a car accident at the age of 35 and they lose all their cryptocurrency, and their family should have gotten it and they didn't. And so it just once again harps on the importance of the private key, and you know, keeping it and only giving it to who you want to give it to. And it's okay to give it to the person if you want to give it to them, for, you know, especially for that kind of thing, right? That, yeah, don't. And I say this as an investor, like I've set up a fun game, whereas if something bad was to happen to me, people can follow the game and figure out where my funds are, but it's not going to be simple because I made it into a game, right?
Wasn't
So
there a book
weird,
about that called Ready Player One?
well, no, you know, kind of like a scavenger hunt, where you got to find the first note that leads you to the second clue, which will lead you to the fourth, which will finally lead you to my private key in a safe somewhere that I hid. And so you got to follow the clues. I figured you got to make it fun.
That's a good idea. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves or type in the chat. Or
when is the next class?
August 3rd is the next class. It'll be on a Tuesday evening again, same thing, starting at 6.
Okay, and so that one again, we'll just go into how to use it. Well, actually, it's kind of going to be an interactive demo, as it were, where I'm going to kind of want people to follow along if they'd like to. And everybody that does, I'll send them a little bit of crypto so that they can get started.
Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry. Did you say that if something were to happen to you, as in, you know, you would pass, that
Yes.
you set up a scavenger hunt so that whoever your loved one that you wanted to have your Bitcoins is going to have to go through that scavenger hunt to get it?
Yeah, but she knows me, and that's just my personality. It's meant to be fun, you know, like, but yes, that is in fact true.
Or we can just give them the private key and a will or something.
Of course.
Of
course. And I don't mean this to sound in any way weird or joking, because, you know, it's not a joking kind of talk, but I you know, it's always the worry I always hear. Don't tell your spouse that you have like $5 million death, interest on you, because if you tell the wrong person, hey, I've got $1 million and here's the private key, and it's yours when I die, you know, you're kind of inviting. You could be inviting.
No, right, yeah.
That's the only reason I say it like that. You got to make it at least a little difficult. but no, and it really is. You have to trust it. And you don't give it to anybody you don't trust. If you want your daughter or son to have it when you die, of course, you know, give it to them early. Say, here's where it's going to be, and that, you know, you can keep it that simple. But once again, keep it on a piece of paper.
Right.
Don't take a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And
It's funny. This is the third time I've given this class in a month, and this one went a lot faster. I'm sorry if I talked fast. I think that's what happened.
Let's give you practice 3 times.
True. It's true.
I will say one thing to people that are, you know, and again, I know like nothing about it. I heard about it through like a friend, and I kept hearing it on the news, and that's when I contacted you, and I was like, what the heck is this? But after I contacted you, I went to Coinbase just to see if I could, you know, like what was involved, and actually managed to create an account and put, you know, we're talking like dollars and cents here, nothing big, but I was so proud of myself for creating an account. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. And again, you know, look and see what you're interested in, and different things fit for different people. But it sounds very daunting, especially when there's a lot of information, but it's actually, you know, when you sort of start breaking it down, it is doable. You can figure it out. It's not quite as scary as it sounds.
Well, yeah, and it's funny, you can even do this without ever owning digital currency at all. There are great investment firms. The only one that comes to mind is like one of the first. It's called Grayscale Trust, I believe. And that is just a firm that decided many years ago, hey, we're going to invest all this money into cryptocurrency, and it is an actual stock. And if you own one share of it, it's one share of the market cap of X amount of shares versus how much cryptocurrency. So it goes up and down when cryptocurrency goes up and down. But it's a way for you to get into this space without ever having to touch cryptocurrency. Because some people want to invest in it, they just don't want to have to deal with it. They have no intention of ever using it to buy anything. So it can just be an investment form in the stock market as well. So yeah, there's so many ways to get into it and utilize it. I've talked about rewards. I like to bring up one of my favorite things because I do buy a lot of stuff online, and there's a website very much similar to Honey called Lolli, Lolli. And that basically, before you buy anything online, just go to Lolli and see if that website is on Lolli, and you'll get reward cash back in the form of cryptocurrency. So you can use Honey and get your Honey Gold, and then you can use Lolli and get some cryptocurrency back for the purchase. Depending on what store, it'll give you 1% or 15% or 20%. You can go buy some candles and get a couple of Satoshis, right? And then on top of that, you use your credit card, you also get rewards, right? So 1% back, what have you. So it's just adding up all these little things to just find extra tiny little sources of revenue. There's always ways to stack Satoshis. It's kind of funny, back in the past, there used to be these things called faucets, and you don't even see them anymore. And it's made so many third worlders rich, because from 2009 to 2016 about, you could type in, Bitcoin faucet, Litecoin faucet, whatever. And every faucet was a little bit different. It might give you like 50 Satoshi every 5 minutes, or it might give you 1,000 Satoshi every day. And so people would just sit there and just slowly get their tiny little amounts of sats, right? Which at the time was practically worthless. When Bitcoin was $200, 10 sats was worth, maybe 1/100th of a penny. But over 12 years now, and all of a sudden 1,000 sats is a few dollars. And so what was really happening is they were making a few dollars every few minutes, as long as they held it for the 12 years, right? And so no, that's kind of how I look at it as far as like long-term investment. It's the same thing with mining. If you're making $2 today mining with your GPU, if Bitcoin was to go to $100,000 tomorrow, then you could make you weren't mining $2, you were mining $6.50 every day. The dollar that I was mining 5 years ago was worth $45 a day today. So slow growth, being patient, holding it long term, looking at it as an investment instead of as a quick money making scheme. Because if you look at it like that, you may get lucky, but you'll probably find yourself like getting scammed or making the wrong decision or buying something that got hyped and will never, ever, ever reach what you bought it for. And so that's where that CoinMarketCap comes in. That's where, do your research and really don't do your research on Twitter. Do your research on like the Discord channel where you can actually talk to the developers of the coin and ask the questions and see what it's for and why it has value, just like you would about any stock. What makes Intel worth anything? Well, they make chips, right? And so what makes X coin worth anything? Well, they do this. And you'll have a lot of coins that can't tell you what they do, and stay away from them. or they'll just, AI, blockchain, funny, cool word, but we don't actually do anything, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, I'd say there's probably
asking, Bell is asking, where's one's cryptocurrency held, on what servers?
That's so it just depends on. It's not so much a server thing. It's a wallet thing. In fact, even Coinbase, they hold it in their what do they call it? Their vault. And so it's just Coinbase holding it in a wallet for you that they have the private keys to. But no, that's why I say use wallets where they give you your private key, because then only you have access to it. It's a good, bad thing, because one, if you lose your private key, you can go to the wallet maker and say, hey, you need that private key, and they're going to be like, sorry, I don't have it either. And that's the beauty of it, is they can't even steal your money. And so it's not so much whose server it's on or where it's being routed. It's on your device. In fact, I don't think I said this time, but one thing that I do, if you ever travel if you ever travel internationally and you have over $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency on a wallet on your phone, depending on what country you go through, you might have to go through customs. And if you go through customs, they might want to look at your phone. And if they happen to see that you have a cryptocurrency wallet on your phone, then you might have to pay taxes on or declare that money. So you download your wallet, you have your money on your wallet, XYZ, time passes, you're going to India, right? You can delete that wallet off your phone because you have your private key. You fly to India, you fly back, you re-download that wallet and you type in your 12 words and you have your wallet again. So it's not so much a server, it's just wherever you put or give access to via that private key. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Anyone? Like I said, this recording will be up. It'll probably take a couple of days for them to get it up, but it will be up on our YouTube website. Alex, thank you so much for the information and for going over all that. And I look forward to the next one because I want to see what you do with it now.
Oh, it's fun. I like this one the best. Like demoing and giving everybody their first cryptocurrency usually is a lot of fun.
I look forward to it.
I hope I see you next week, or I see some of you next
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks from
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you all for coming.
Coming.